Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wizard. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Number 13. This Pixar-styled but not budgeted Taiwanese animated movie called City of Lost Things looks at respecting and even protecting the disposable in a perhaps shot at the Chinese government, but hey, who knows? I wouldn't know how to properly read that metaphor anyways, since I only have a surface understanding of the politics and history of the region, but that could be going on, and I am certainly not reading the metaphors in this fully. Animated movies from China have always been a struggle for me. The anime movies from Japan are way better visually, as well as theme and story-wise, but for an animated movie, it's not all bad. This is sort of a coy endorsement of watching this. You have to be on board for the animation style, and I can't really read the metaphors that well. But I did not mind the experience, so maybe put this on exclusively for kids. Number 12. Malaysian movie Nasi Lemak 1.0 is a weird one. It looks at a failing restaurant and its social media promoters who get lost at a certain point and held captive by indigenous people to learn a different lesson while still being one of the weirdest movies you could see currently. The shots emphasize a lot of cutting to get a sense of action. When you see they are online, you will know it's online because you can see there is a time bar at the bottom, but even when the shots are longer, it is weird. The acting, I would argue, is more theatrical than cinematic because of how over-the-top everyone is. Imagine a team of Al Pacinos, Tony Montana, and Scarface just running around and filming because about food no one is eating. I like this movie while also finding it very obnoxious. And in fact, I think that Malaysian actors need better coaching if they're going to be a viable industry. Because that was the issue I had with the last movie I saw from there. Number 11. The movie Ninja Girl will likely put you off guard in one way or another, as it is not something like the movie Dragon Princess, which is a female ass-kicking movie that Sunny Chiba is in. It deals with the issues of xenophobia in contemporary times. You accept that as the plot, then you have this kooky young lady dressed up as a ninja pulling stunts on the political enemies in the story, and it deflates seriousness while adding humor in a way that is ultimately weird. And by weird, I don't mean that in a good way. It stands out in a way that doesn't work for me. I was ready for a ninja movie, then I got a dramatic movie that did not end up taking itself very seriously. I feel like it won't get a Well Go USA Blu-ray treatment, and that this review is the most that the people who are hearing it or reading it will go in knowing about it. There are lots of cool Asian movies in the market right now, so just skip this one. Number 10. During the 2019 edition of the New York Asian Film Festival, I had a dumb fun time watching The Fable, which was sort of a softer E.T. the Killer, in my mind. So when it was revealed that this year, The Fable got a sequel, it was intriguing. So intriguing that the first movie that was watched by me for this festival coverage was this movie, because so far, it is the only movie seen here that has gotten a sequel, so it was likely that it would have the same spirit of the first movie, but be a notch or two beneath in terms of quality. It turned out that hypothesis was correct. There's a lot of straight time scene in this movie, as well as new buddies who were enjoyable to engage with as a viewer, and of course there's also heavy violence done lightly. Many people get beat up or killed in this movie, but it lacks punch, which is fine. The storyline was less engaging, though not to the point where you wouldn't want to watch a third movie, and it's still a amusing series. Number 9. I like the universality of the language spoken in the Filipino movie Here and There, which looks at a nice young girl who undermines herself with toxic social media practices, both online and offline, during the initial months of coronavirus. Both the time and the topics are relatable to anyone outside of the Philippines, so I found there was an immediate accessibility to this movie instead of anything so culturally specific that you were engulfed in that. The young lead actress does her job well. She knows herself to be a layered person initially, while ultimately being unlikable. Then she steps outside her bad habits consciously, then it dips back and forth between the good and the bad. It is a nice human relationship movie. While none of the three acts really blow you away at any point, it is still good stuff and uses the Corona setting well by making it specifically about social media abuse. Number 8. The movie Escape from Mogadishu is about Korean diplomats and their loved ones fleeing violence in Somalia during an uprising in the 90s that turned on the international community that looks at a rare instance of the North and South of Korea working together. The movie is made by South Koreans, but it is kind of neat to see the North and South working something out together, and there's plenty of tension and action to be found in the film that has an exciting conclusion. While it is an exciting conclusion, I also found it a little far-fetched that the cars the South Koreans drive could take that amount of gunfire to play backseat driver, as a creative person. I would have liked to see the cars get shot more sparingly. That is not enough for me to have not enjoyed the experience of seeing a movie about diplomacy and calmness exuded for the majority of the movie on a topic from a vantage point that is totally unique. Number 7. Some heavy Hong Kong history is filtered through a cool yet dense crime movie called Hand Rolled Cigarette, which at times captivated me, and at times I was less invested, but in the end it paid off in a slow burn. The final action scene is damn intense fun, which is what we all want from an action genre movie, so any personal yet out of context historical mentions are forgiven, and if you have a skin in the game, makes things more real. If you're going to be engaged the entire time, you might be disappointed, but if you're okay with waiting it out till the end, you should enjoy all the back and forth between the military and criminal pursuits. I like the action as well, maybe not loving it. I think the star of the movie is the action, and it sounds out as something raw instead of something polished, which is a good thing too. This movie would really work with a double bill followed by Eastern Condors. Number 6. Having been fair previously this year at the Berlinale, Fighter fits in nicely as prestige fare for the New York Asian Film Festival by being a more dramatic movie than an action movie coming from South Korea. It weaves nicely between a metaphor of cleaning yourself of a dictatorship while cleaning yourself out through sweat. Life is filled with difficult decisions, but physical exertion really makes things clearer for all of us. Our main character is a female who works at a gym, but not as an athlete, but relies on her physicality to get out of heavyweight events early in the movie, leading her to be discovered and trained as a boxer. She's also from North Korea, and there are some interesting state metaphors thrown in here, in between the physicality of the story, making this a neat movie to look out for if you have not already. Number 5. Martin Scorsese's silence didn't gain him a lot of new fans. It probably didn't retain many either, but I liked its exploration of the topic of missionaries in Asia, and how they just weren't really cut out for the philosophical environment. What we get with the South Korean movie The Book of Fish is a similar movie. It looks at a South Korean from hundreds of years ago who defies the Confucius community surrounding him to be a Christian. Sometimes I find it a little laughable to use the term Christian persecution, but it is an applicable term in the real world, and that is what we saw in Silence, as well as this movie The Book of Fish. While it is not as masterfully filmed as a Martin Scorsese movie, you should be asking yourself how many movies truly are that good. It is still a strong movie with believable acting, nice photography, and a pretty captivating plot. Number 4. When anyone thinks of anything funny from Kazakhstan, they think of Sacha Baron Cohen playing Borat. But now with Sweetie, you won't believe it. A group of people, that being said, a small group of people, will now have something national in mind as well. The plot for this movie is the married, competent guy goes on a trip with the guys who just couldn't make it work with the ladies, and are still living in a sort of stoner fantasy world. So the trip starts with the alienation, leads to separation, and they all appreciate the moment together. I found the humor set up in the first scene to be very funny, but also pretty harsh, and lacking the smoothness or charm that Western viewers will expect from the characters they follow in film or television. What works for me means it will work for others, but the roughness will upset some viewers. I'm someone who loves to laugh, but generally does not go for straight comedies without some grit to them. But we have that here. Number 3. To me, Joint is as exciting as it gets for a new movie that's set in Japan. It looks at a harsh new skin. It shows the rise and fall of a gangster, perhaps emphasizing the fall in a scared straight way too much, but the acting is really terrific. The good acting must have been modeled by some good directing. Certainly it is a very good script, and the visuals give us a sense of realism for a movie that in the end you should be excited to see, even though you have to read subtitles. If you're up for it, Joint will reward you, because its contemporary crime angle, looking at the getting data off cell phones to then scan the individual based on all that information gathered on them, then of course the inevitable heat comes. As mentioned, the ending seemed sanctimonious to me. I get it, a life of crime should not be celebrated, but we need to see it told honestly. I feel like if Scorsese's inner circle were around, they could have made this very good movie great. Number 2. There is another B movie called Breathing Fire that I immediately thought of when learning about the latest movie starring Donnie Yen, which is called Raging Fire, but they have nothing in common other than a title. Raging Fire tells us the tale of a straight cop played by Donnie Yen, who will always be a straight cop, despite the temptations of corruption that he is offered, as well as the fact that his best friends of the force became corrupt. Straight cop beats corruption is the theme. It is not like a Dirty Harry or Death Wish movie, where the law is bent by the lead to get vigilante justice that audience knows is deserved. It is more altruism winning out. That said, Donnie Yen gets really pissed off at various points and kicks lots of ass, but he always maintains the straight cop persona, which works for this kind of movie that still glorifies the hell out of cops. Number 1. Saying Under the Open Sky is a Yakuza movie is not descriptive at all, and that is the strength of this film. It is more a drama about someone recovering from pain and not having it in him to do so. It looks at a man fresh out of prison for a murder years ago to not be able to fit back into society, nor really trying to, despite a pretty good support system out there for him. They are perhaps excellent, but he is unwilling to let himself go. Someone gets clinical with him and tells him that he hurts because he was hurt as a child. Once that light bulb goes off, he knows his ways are wrong, but is also not up to the task of fitting back into society. Under the Open Sky is not genre fair. It is a drama that played during the Toronto International Film Festival in 2020, and now in 2021 plays at the New York Asian Film Festival. So check it out if you are into human emotions in your films.